All right, guys. So thanks for bearing with me while I just got myself together. So 10 minutes before the US markets open, obviously we are having a good day today. Bitcoin's doing pretty well. So I just want to quickly just go through a couple of things, just recap what my current position is. So I had been long Bitcoin, as you know, pretty much trying to get into a long position for this scenario. All of the time we've been at the bottom, despite it being really choppy, and you get a little bit schizo when you're down at that level, that something may give in, particularly when the other markets are looking weak, but fortunately we managed to hold on. So I'm still pretty much 100% long on my Bitcoin position. I did sell off the margin on it this morning while we came up just across 11,000, just to lock in some profits, because it's been a treacherous choppy region at the bottom, and we are coming into resistance. So I'll go through that in a little bit more detail at the moment. I'm still long Ethereum as well. We can have a look at those targets also. So it's reasonably sized position, like 30% of my net assets are in Ethereum at the moment. Still long on Link as well from 950. Again, these two were a little bit leery, and so was Tezos as well when we had a bit of a breakdown the other day, but fortunately managed to have well-positioned stops on those, so stayed strong in those two positions as well, and they're now up. So we'll have a look at those two charts as well. So Link's about 11% of my net assets as well. Tezos got into that one the other day when it was looking pretty good to break, but hasn't quite caught the other ones up yet. I do think this one's a bit of a sleeper, and it will run eventually, so we'll have a look at that as well. And then I don't know what this nonsense is at the bottom, but it seems to drag through these 0%ers. I must have like some small balances or something on there, but yeah. And then we've obviously got, basically the whole account's leveraged by sort of 50% at the minute, so so basically long Bitcoin and then leveraged into these alts, which is why as we've come up to resistance, I've sort of thought, right, well, I am still leveraged. I've made a little tidy profit trading Bitcoin long into resistance here, and now's the time to kind of just chill. If Bitcoin does rip through, then I'm expecting the alts to perform better personally. So on that basis, I'm happy to stay in these positions, and then if Bitcoin retraces, I'll reload my position again, assuming everything's looking good. So performance today on the account's not looking too shabby at the minute. Obviously last week I was getting a little bit tired of trading within the range, but fortunately the Decentrader account that we've been monitoring is up. And just to sort of reiterate for any new people, the way that I'm trading this account is like how I would expect someone to trade an account properly, as opposed to the Bybit account, which is just like try to make a small amount of money as much as you can, which obviously comes with a bigger amount of risk. So the risk on this account is lower than on a what I would really refer to as like a gambling or a challenge account. This is really how I trade my normal accounts properly. There's never been a drawdown on this account. We've never gone below zero. Below zero. Well, we can't, but we've never gone below our original capital, which is how the account should look. So we're now pushing back towards where we were at 12k before the drawdown. But yeah, obviously if we get back to 12k, this should be somewhere up here, which will be good news. So overall, that's pretty good. We've been working. So there's a couple of announcements. We've been sort of working on the site quite a lot. So some feedback was that we wanted some sort of like graphical representation of how the positions looked, and I think this is quite a nice way of doing it. So you can sort of, I don't know if this is live or not. This is the test site at the minute, but you can see effectively it's sort of telling you in a snapshot kind of how positioned the account is, and then the other side being the dollar side, showing you the leverage there as well. We've also been working on the position entry and risk management stuff, so I'm going to go into that a lot more detail, and also about the journal entry area, which we should be using more. But I've refined the position entry and risk management stuff, so when I'll do an educational next week as well, which will go in hand with the size management and risk and size management stuff. So yeah, lots of other stuff in the works as well, which I haven't mentioned. I did make a post before. If you don't have Predator, it's probably a good time to get it, or if you want it, because we are going to change how we bill for that. So we haven't finalised exactly how we're going to price it, but basically, pretty much in a nutshell, the current price is going to be like the price for 12 months. So if you do have Predator, then that doesn't matter to you, because you've already bought it on the same arrangement that we had, which was like a one-time purchase. So no worries if you've already got it. But yeah, if you don't have it, like I've said twice to you guys, and I do want you guys to sort of be happy. So I've mentioned that, get it this weekend if you want to get it, because otherwise it's going to cost more money in the long run. So that's that. So let's have a quick look. Well, not a quick look. We're here for a little while, but we'll have a look at the chart. So the big story today. By the way, I longed S&P 500 and Nasdaq about half an hour ago before I came on the call. So this is really the story here today, is the dollar's losing strength, and it looks as though it's been totally rejected. The 20-week moving average for it's like somewhere here. But pretty much rejected off the 20-week moving average, while everything else also bounced off the 20-week moving average. So the dollar continues to look pretty weak going into the election. I haven't really been up to date on the news today, so I can't tell you exactly why. We could have a look in a moment, but it doesn't look great for the dollar at the moment. I think like a reasonable target would be back down at this 92 level. Which is really where all of the other markets started falling down. So gold and everything dropped when the dollar pumped from here. So if we get back down to 92, I think it's reasonable to assume that all of the other markets are going to sort of be back where they were before. So if we have a quick look. So where's the dollar? Here. So when we were here, back down at 92, the gold was sort of up at 1990, 1980 sort of numbers. And similarly, the S&P 500 was up at like 3.5. So if this continues to go down, you can see the strength here in the S&P 500 is like really strong today. Gold had a really nice bounce as well. We'll have a look at gold in a bit more detail, but this correlation is obviously continuing, and obviously I'm pleased with my pretty much bought the bottom on gold at like 1860, so pretty pleased, buzzing about my gold at the moment. But yeah, everything looks great. It looked awful sort of on Thursday morning and Wednesday night. The market was really starting to test our resolve, particularly with all the bad news. We had the FCA in the UK, obviously that's like close to me, announcing that they were getting rid of derivatives trading, which isn't ideal. I'm still not entirely clear what the outcome of that's going to be, to be honest. Could be a nothing. It may not impact me at all, but I think it will obviously impact the retail guys more so. And then what else did we have? We had Trump's bloody tweeting, didn't we? So Trump's managed to shut his mouth now, or at least for a short amount of time. So that's obviously, we had those couple of instances with Trump getting ill, but he seems to be better now. So overall, nice to sort of see everything bounce off those 20-week. It's proper technical bounces that were going on off all of this stuff. So TA, you never know, it might actually work. But Yeah, so if we just sort of remember when gold was up here, sorry, when the S&P 500 was up here and the dollar was down at the bottom, Bitcoin was, trading up at that week at 11,675, 11,700. So I think there's a very strong case that Bitcoin's bottom might be in. So I guess we should look at that in a bit more detail. Obviously, I shared a little bit of an update the other day. By the way, just if you've got any questions, just chime in, because we're going. The plan is for this to be a longer live stream, so I don't mind just stopping as we go if there's any salient points you want to make. But yeah, so the main thing with Bitcoin that I was worrying about, I am a bit of a worrier. It does come to people who've worked in finance over time. I think it's just a natural trait that you have, because you just get paranoid. You don't want to feel like you're gambling too much. But the worry that I was having was this 50-day moving average was coming down really hard on price, and the previous times we've seen that was here, and the weekly candles were looking more like this to me than this really well supported level. So I was starting to worry that we were doing this kind of thing here, and then we were going to get a big drawdown, and the sell off I think would be worse. If we do sell off, I think it's going to be worse than what people would have anticipated, because the catalyst for us to have done that would have been a pretty big one. And the liquidity, despite there was some buyers there, if you just think like through all of the range that we've been in, yes, there will be a lot of buyers on the books there, but a lot of people have already bought at 10k, and if their stops were run, then you could just get the two offset, and then you'd get a really big wick to the downside. So the 200-day moving average actually, at 8k would have been really, given how long we've been at this level, if it did break down, I honestly would have thought that we could have done something like this, but that's not happened. But it's always good to, I'll never really apologise for looking at what could happen if things go up or down. That's part of the game, isn't it? Is to try and work out, if you're right, this is what we think is going to happen, or if you're wrong, then this is what's going to happen. It takes a little bit of the emotion out of the equation. Just having a plan for either scenario. But anyway, it's looking more like, one of the things that, honestly, I will repeat this until I have to, really. If there's one thing that you can take away from sort of watching this stuff, is just how good the OBV is, because it really does make the difference on the 4 hour with my decision making when we get into a consolidation like this as to which way it's going to go. And even though we were really struggling down here yesterday, just the OBV just looked so strong. This thing wants to go up, whereas the price action here, it's just looking at it for what it is, it doesn't tell you the volume story, which in the price action you might argue, we've had a head and shoulders top and then a consolidation with a triangle which is symmetrical, which is like are we in a downtrend then, or are we still in an uptrend? Well, you can argue that either way, really. I'd suggest here this was a consolidation after a big pump, so it's quite obvious that, well, it wasn't obvious at the time, but it's more forgiving that this would be a continuation. Whereas because we've had this head and shoulders top, it was a little bit more dubious. But OBV it had already reset, and it was trying to break out. So, and I was saying, if you remember, if we get these bull divs on OBV, that tends to be what you want to see. And it did actually come and print. So that was what made me just think, you're either long here, you're either long and strong, or you're either long and strong for the reasons that you're always long and strong, or you're changing your goalposts in a critical time. And realistically, the reasons why I'm not blowing my own trumpet here, I'm just literally trying to explain how I did the exact same thing here, was just looking at the OBV and just being like, I know that this works, and things work until they don't in this game, and the big money moves come by keeping your resilience with your system when it matters. And the time it matters is when you're at the end of the triangle. You've got to stick with your bias. If your bias is like built on solid, well tested methodology, and so fortunately we managed to keep the resolve and go higher. Admittedly, on my my leverage swap accounts, I took most of my profit on this pump up to here, just because I needed to book some profits in on those. But and also because we were coming up to the 50-day moving average, which quite clearly we found support above, and now we've broken today. So, I mean, it's tough. It's tough when you get to resistance like this. I mean, it's not hugely dissimilar to this exact situation over here. Look, we're in a triangle. OBV was saying, I think we're going to break up. It did lead the market. We broke the 50-day, and then we had this slow grind through what was actually really like this resistance sort of level up here. And that's not hugely dissimilar to what's going on here. The difference last time was obviously there was a major amount of people betting on this to the downside as well, so we've got a big short squeeze. Whereas now what we're going to go and do is we're going to go and try and take on what has been pretty well established support and resistance for pretty much all of August. So that was the whole of August basically. And obviously when you've got local support and resistance levels to break out of or break through, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. But what we do know about this range is when it leaves sort of 11,300, it just goes straight to 11,500. So, I mean, this was really quite a nice. This is when the Bybit competition was on, and like I trebled the account just simply because the thing was so volatile across $500 that, and it was ranging so nicely that the opportunity was there to make the money. So, I think if we get above here, which is not going to be an easy task. I mean, we know that what I like to do is like what happened in a similar situation here. So we were pressing here and we only got to 11,420, and then we had to come back down back to 10.8, and that kind of happened, here as well, 11,450 back to 11k. So it does look a little bit like this, but I could see us doing maybe something like this, event, maybe working through it at the weekend and then pulling back to 11k. So I'm very much looking to buy this market still, particularly on the swap accounts. But I really, don't want to break rules here that I trade, that I know are the ones that you break, where you can really mess it up, because we may not be done here yet. It's certainly possible that we need to fill in the rest of this triangle here. So I think it's a great sign that we've broken out of this descending resistance, but TA would tell us that this isn't going to be that easy to get through. We did break through those big walls at Binance. So these guys here who had something like, that was a 500 BTC that went. Well, so far today they've took out 1,000 Bitcoin sell wall at Binance, and I mean it's pretty much open air above that. I don't know if these guys are leveraging or something, but that might be a nice short squeeze because they already had another 1,000 that they sold over here. What actually happened here was when price came up and tagged into this price zone here. If you zoom in, you can see that what they did was they moved the bids up about $100 or so, and they did it again there. To just, that you can see that these ones were removed and put up higher. So overall, there's not that. It doesn't look like there's that much resistance to the upside. So I could see us maybe squeezing this weekend. Maybe it's a little bit more up to 11,400 or something, and then probably a big sell-off on like a Sunday or something like that. But one of the rules, as I sort of shared the thing on my wall, was like don't leverage long at resistance. So I mean, in terms of like where would I be looking to leverage here? I think either, I want to see this come back down and retest somewhere in here and then break out. I'd be happy to sort of get back in. Actually, let's zoom in a little bit, actually. It does look like it's squeezing up at the moment, when we get these little green candles that just keep... If we see more green candles, I'd potentially take a short-term trade with a very tight stop, because you then tend to get one of those big squeeze breakout candles. So I'm either looking for maybe another couple of hours of this, and then just tag in because it's squeezing, it's not allowing people to get out of the market. I think we saw this sort of thing happen over here. You get these little green candles, and then they expand. There's a big expansion like that. So it's always useful to just go and have a look at what happened in most recent times. So if I could start to see that kind of thing, I'd be persuaded into starting to scalp this thing to the long side like this. However, there's still a good chance that we reverse here, because it's Friday. Traders will be closing out positions and stuff like that. So coming back to the 50-day moving average is the obvious other place to potentially consider bidding as well, and beyond that, obviously the 100. So I mean, it looks good. Nobody knows what's going to happen here. I'm of the opinion that this thing will break out to the upside quite violently eventually. I just don't want to see it happen at the weekend. Ideally, I'd see it happen on either today with all the other markets, or on a Monday, Tuesday next week. So that's really Bitcoin at the moment. I'll just show you actually Bitfinex's OBV is way stronger. So yeah, this is what I just shared with some guys in another chat yesterday. Was are we here? And it does look like. I mean, if you stick this thing over the top, I could see this happening. Where we just continually grind against the 50 day, and then create like a triangle into resistance, and then at that point, you'd be looking for that breakout trade at about I'd be more inclined to buy into a breakout trade if that sort of thing, price action occurs with an ascending triangle into the resistance, ideally not at a weekend. So something like that would be fantastic, because if you think about it, like, we know that there is a shitload of bids down here, that people are just waiting to, well, they're not back here now, are they? But they have been the whole time. But there's a ton of bids back here, and all of those clowns who think that we're going to fill the gap are going to be bitterly disappointed when it doesn't happen. So what's going to force them into the market? Well, it's going to be FOMO, isn't it? They're going to FOMO in eventually, or what they'll do is they'll backfill their bids into here. And that'll create like a really strong... That's like the sort of thing that'll mean that we may never go back below 10k again. If we see that, I think it's just game, set and match for the 10k level. And I just think that, yeah, okay, of course we can come back to there. But naturally, if we're in a bull market, I just think that we're done at 10k at that point. And I think we'll all be quite pleased about that, assuming that you've also been long as well. But I don't know if it'll play out like this, because, as I say, this time we've got all of this, like, there was no resistance above here. There was historic stuff over here, but like here we've got all this local resistance. So, I don't think it's going to play quite like that, but we might get some sort of poor man's version of this type of breakout. But yeah, just like the OBV is just so sweet on Bitfinex. We know that we know that there's some big whales on Finex. So it makes sense to pay a little bit more attention to the Finex chart, I think, actually. And the OBV is very slightly different on here, and I haven't been able to work out why. But I think the price action's been slightly more bullish, which is why it's led and led to the OBV looking a lot cleaner for the breakout. And, you know, I trade this thing like fair, you know, I like to look at previous levels that we were at when OBV was at, you know, here. And we're now at the same OBV level we were at when price was sort of up at 12.5. Now, obviously, the issue there was that it needed to sell off. So that's not really like a valid comparative. But we are clearly now, in terms of volume support, like trading almost above all of this stuff now. So to me, it's and we're above you know, what we had over here. So it's best to look at the lows. So the lows are telling us, this is just how I do it. Like, it's not out of a book or anything. I've just over the years come up with my own way. It's telling us that we should be about 40% off the price that we reset when we were down here at the like 9k level. And that would take us to like 12.5k. So to me, I'm of the view that this thing's going to go to 12.5k. Like the volume's telling me that that's what should happen on the 4 hour. This only really seems to work pretty well on the 4 hour for whatever reason, but I'm pretty happy that that's where we're heading overall. And I'm assuming, you know, Trump doesn't. So, I don't know. Just assuming Trump doesn't like fuck us over, or if there's some other, you know, election FUD or something that comes into play. But overall, you know, it's hard to be too bearish. So I'll be pleased if we can get out of this range. Having, you know, we sold out at 300 up here, got chopped up a little bit, but, you know, coming out of it strong, and then looking for that breakout trade to 12.5 is basically the play. And then perhaps, you know, if this thing does, you know, as I say, we are in a volatile environment. It's possible this thing continues till the end of October. And if that is the case, then the 50-day moving average is going to be really important, and so is the 100-day as well. Avoiding these two crossing will be, you know, really good news. So that is Bitcoin for now. Just have a quick look across time frames. Yeah, we're still sort of pushing at this 11k level. We're, you know, still squeezing up there, which is good to see. So yeah, nice to see it all turning green finally. You know, the 1 day going green is not that common for it to do. And again, you know, this is where it went green last time. Okay, it did do it here for a bit, but then we got shafted. But yeah, it does tend to get the move. So it's good to see the 1 day also going green now as well. So yeah, could be worse. Could be worse. So I'll just go through a couple of the other charts. We'll have a look at the usual suspects. By the way, Phil's going to join us at like 3. Yeah, soon. I don't know if he's got anything specific he wants to talk about, but oh, he's here already. I don't know if he's going to talk. So yeah, Ethereum. Yeah, I longed this a little bit early, somewhere in here. I thought that we were going to break out, and then I had to like micromanage my stops down here. I didn't really want to give up on the position because, you know, if I'm bullish on Bitcoin, then I should really be bullish on Ethereum as well. And it's likely that I will take some profits up at like 391 or something like that. Try and book in some profits there, because it has also got this 50-day moving average coming down against it. I mean, overall, I do have a spot OBV for. Let's have a look at the OBV. I've got a spot OBV for Ethereum as well, and the daily is like mega bullish. You know, look at the bull divs on that. That's the stuff dreams are made of there, right there. So that's why I really went long. The 4 hour wasn't quite as good, but I'd say now that it's basically breaking back out, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get it back up to 370 quite quickly on this. But it's not quite as nice as Bitcoin's. I do think that there's a hell of a lot of work to do to get back up to sort of towards $500 in terms of buying. And I think a lot of people are going to be trapped at 400. I mean, we know that level's kind of the equivocal level where most people have bought into Ethereum, so we already know that that's a tough level to get across. So I think it makes sense for me to probably come out of half the position at 400, and then I'll potentially start trading it a little bit more actively on a day basis. But I was pleased to avoid this stop down here, because I would have been a bit upset about that. So Ethereum, I'd say maybe coming out, if you're short term trading it or if you're on leverage on your account, just before 400 probably to me makes sense. Well, that's what I'm doing anyway. You can do whatever you want. So that's what I'm looking for with Ethereum. Be nice to get out of this red, get into the green on it. Actually, I think I am in the green. Was I not? It's quite nice on this account how I can just come and have a look at a nice website and it tells me what's going on. So I am actually up on that, which is good. Back to this. So Link. We'll look at XTZ. Actually, we're here anyway. So Tezos. Right. This thing, I posted this on. I posted no words with it, but Tezos is looking to me like it could be a real sleeping giant again, and it looks very similar to, I mean, if you think about the sell-off that this thing's had, this was the March sell-off, and the fall from grace was equivocally bad, just off the top. So I think it's had a really bad time of it, unjustifiably so versus the other coins really, but I think it's largely due to the DeFi stuff, and it just wasn't as sexy as the other coins at the time that were coming out, so a lot of people sort of capitulated on their position, this thing's obviously trending overall to the upside, or has been, so after such a big drawdown, I mean, let's just have a quick look at that. That was lost, nearly 55% of its value. And before that, it's been in this channel. Seems to me there's a reasonable chance it might head towards $3.50 again. I'll be coming out, along the way. I'll take some profit on this thing, but I do think that this old boy might see a bit of action. The price action's not hugely dissimilar to how it was down here. It's less volatile, but I think if you wanted to, a long-term position from down here, even at these prices, it's a good trade. It's very easy to manage. It shouldn't sell off worse than what we've had. If Bitcoin has bottomed, then and Bitcoin isn't going to drop below 10k, then we know where the stop should be on this thing, if that's your view. So you can then start to work out, and that's how I worked out how to put my stops, by the way, the other week. I was like, hang on, if I don't think Bitcoin's going to break below 10, where do I need to have my stops to make sure that I'm covered? And obviously here, this would be a good trade. I mean, I'll tighten the stops as I go. And I'll probably, I will come out. I think I've got some sells at where's this? Oh, I must have got rid of them. I need to reevaluate where I want those sell orders. But bloody hell, what am I doing? Yeah, but overall, I'd certainly be looking at 260 and then probably letting the rest ride and see if we can't get back up to 340 or something like that. So it's nice to accumulate long-term positions at the bottom. The way that I tend to trade this sort of thing is kind of, like to actually describe it, I would say I take on a position with a known risk level. Once it gets up to something like here, I'll take off like at least 50% of the position, bank the profit, and then like I don't really care where the stops are after that, like assuming that it's eventually going to make it up here, I can kind of forget about the thing, and reassign the capital somewhere else. The things will have gone up, made a decent return on investment. There's no longer any risk on the other 50%. The entry was so low that I don't really, the odds of it coming back there are small. I mean, it might come back to sort of 240 again or something. But you could just sort of almost just put your orders and forget at that point and just let the thing run to make that sort of 50 to 100% gain on the rest of the capital, and then go and recycle the other money back into somewhere else. So Tezos, I think, is just like a really nice chart. Who knows whether or not we'll ever get... I mean, you could argue that's the channel, and really, your target should be $5, which was originally like around where we were. So I'll probably take half off there and let the rest go for $5. Link. I want someone to ask me about uni, because I think we nailed exactly what was going to happen with that in last week's call. But yeah, where's Link? So Link, well, we know we had the going all the way back to here. So we know we had the 61.8% bounce. Well, that's where I bought in at 7.7 anyway, and then I sort of came out here, got back in here with the same size position. I mean, my overall view of Link is similar to that of Tezos, really. It's probably better to look at this logarithmically, actually. But it looks like we're probably doing something like this again down here, where we made that final low into a previous level, which was difficult to break out of. Found the low, retraced, probably about 50% of that, which would be up to about where my target was at about 1240. Fart around there, probably come back down, and then eventually, was that March? No. And then probably start to try and make a run for it. But this thing's going to probably be stuck between $10 and $20 for a while, I think, once it gets above, like reestablishes itself above $10. So I think this could become a really nice one to accumulate a position. If we can see it start pressing on and showing strength again, I think that it could be ready eventually. If Bitcoin does break out, this thing will probably do something stupid like $50 quite quickly, like Ethereum did back in 2017. So it looks good. It's clearly, I mean, before you could argue it hadn't broken out of the downtrend just quite yet. But I think, if today it can keep its head above here, people are going to see that and probably push it back towards $10 or $11 quite quickly. I mean, on the same basis of what we were doing everything before, when Bitcoin was at $12, this thing was at 20. So people think the same sort of way I'm thinking. I'm sure a lot of you guys do as well. They'll just be looking at it and thinking, well, this thing should be $20 again, or $12.50 or whatever. So people will start running back into the coins that are showing strength. It's interesting this time, Bitcoin dominance has remained fairly flat throughout this consolidation, whereas last time towards the end of it, the alts made a quick run for it. Let's have a quick look at that, actually. I mean, the obvious thing here is this like inverse head and shoulders, isn't it? But last time when we broke out, you could see that Bitcoin started falling. Bitcoin dominance started breaking down. This time it's actually showing a bit more strength. But what I think, my hunch is that it'll end up doing this. If Bitcoin continues to the upside, this will probably be what happens, and we end up pushing back towards those highs that we saw on the alts back then. I don't know how this thing's calculated though. I don't know if it's taken into account the DeFi stuff or not. If it is, I don't know. But I could definitely see Bitcoin losing, another between, it's at 60 now. Could easily lose another 3%. I don't know what that means in terms of value for the alts, but as I say, you can work on the basis they'll probably go back to where they were before. But overall, as I say, the big thing to watch out for on Bitcoin dominance is when it gets towards 50-55%. When Bitcoin loses value to the tune to just 50% of the alts, that's the time to be getting out of those alts most likely. I mean, obviously back in 2018 Bitcoin was down at like 36%, but I think it's more natural level now to around this 50% level. So just worth bearing in mind. I don't think it's really that tradable, this. Just when it gets to the 50% level, it's probably cooked at that point. There's just a quick question there. Sounds like I'm looking to add spot when BTC retraces to the 50 DMA. Yes, if it finds support there. I've been burnt a couple of times, admittedly in this consolidation by trying to buy what are normally really sensible retracement levels, into support, assuming that you're on that run to the upside. But these bloody news events that have been coming along just kept smashing through. And then I would lose my position, get stopped out. So once we get trending, it's a lot easier to sort of buy things like the 50 DMA, because that just works, like everyone's looking to get into the market. People are taking short-term profits, and then they buy back at obvious places like moving averages and stuff like that. But when you're sort of in a sketchy consolidation where, like, if Trump, as one of you guys said, farts, like as soon as anything like that happens, everybody like peaks on the position, and the short, everyone gets stopped out. So I think as soon as we start trending, I'll be a lot happier to just blindly buy moving averages. Well, not blindly, but you know what I mean. And for now, I think the best thing is to sort of see if it acts as support first and then buy in. I'd rather just lose some of the opportunity cost of losing a few of the gains rather than just getting smashed down for another 2 or 3% would be more attractive in my view. So we've done ETH, BTC, Link, Tezos. They're the ones that I've been most interested in personally. I think we could have a quick look at... actually, the US markets have been open for half an hour. Let's have a quick look. What's going on? So we're still pumping on Bitcoin. This does look like one of those squeezes I was talking about. So once we've had a quick look through these charts, I might have a re-evaluation of, see if I can take a short-term trade to the long side. Sorry, I'm just checking my US positions, stock market positions, so they're up at the moment. I'll probably take some profit actually. After the first half hour, I like to secure a bit of profit if it's gone my way. So I just took profit there on the Nasdaq. But yeah, this is starting to look like a short squeeze to me. I think Snake made a good point actually just before we move on, that the CME chart for Bitcoin is looking particularly strong at the minute, even versus spot. I mean, that's like a clear breakout of resistance there. Let's just look at that compared to you can see on the daily chart on Stamp, we're only, at resistance here. But clearly the CME is already blasting through there, which I interpret that as being, really quite bullish when the CME is the one leading the way. Grayscale's obviously gapped up as well today, out of resistance as well, out of the daily resistance. And actually the CME, again, like the daily's just not that useful on the OBV. But if you look at the CME's 4 hour, it's clearly obviously breaking, wants to break to the upside as well. So I'd say that things are, I think we're probably positioned quite well at the moment, particularly on my accounts, obviously. But yeah, so that's those coins. Did we want to take a look at Wi-Fi as well? So this was the one that just wouldn't stop selling off, wasn't it, last week? And it did, again, it came down to this level down here that we talked about. I mean, we saw once it broke down out of sort of 20k, it got to that sweet retest failure, and that was the time to short. And then, yeah, we went. I thought that the opportunity actually was only to 15k, back to 15, so I didn't think it looked that attractive as a short because it would get stopped in here, but it actually did come lower, similarly I think to the uni chart, back to 13k. So that's been, a monstrous gain if you've managed to get in on that. I think let's have a look how Predator's done with it. Yeah, Predator.
Hey Phil, how's it going?
Hey Phil, yeah, good. Philip, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. So I joined a bit later. I was out, and then I was just trying to catch up with all the markets, see what all the good stuff that's been going on. So I was online, but just turned on my mic now. But yeah, it's all looking good, eh?
Yeah, I feel a lot better than I did on Thursday morning. Like, so yeah, things are going the way they should be going now. So I've just started to have a look at Wi-Fi. That's Predator probably is well, it has done a pretty good job. It didn't quite catch the absolute bottom. Obviously, it got you short, or got you thinking about being short all of the right times here. But it's looking like it's pretty strong. What's your view? Do you think it's going to make all the way back to?
So I think so if you just scroll out a little bit further. So what I was talking about on the Wednesday live stream is you can see it come back to that just general zone of resistance, of support. Sorry, yeah, exactly. So I think we were pretty confident it was going to bounce somewhere around there. So I think on Wednesday live stream I was saying I just took a position, and then it just dumped one more leg down overnight, and then bounced back up. So it was quite fortunate, because I think if it had dumped when I'd have been awake, I'd have probably closed out the position like at a couple of % loss, but I just left it open. And so obviously now we're fortunately rallying. So yeah, it looks pretty good. I think we are up at a little bit of resistance now. You can see that maybe it's on BTC actually rather than USD, but on the BTC chart we're sort of at that level where it looks like the 28th, 29th of August, where there's that sort of like resistance cluster just before it had that next leg up.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we're kind of, you can see it more. Yeah, exactly there. So we're at that little bit of resistance there, but I mean, the market is just generally pushing on pretty strong at the moment. One thing I was watching on the BTC chart is on the 4 hour. If you want to, yeah.
I haven't got it tracked on here. Look at that, it's all green. God,
yeah.
For that.
That's what we want to see.
It is.
So if you go on the 4 hour and then stick on 100 period moving average, just standard moving average. So and then if you zoom out,
Yeah.
so you can't see it so much on here, but basically under Poloniex, don't bother going into it. But it was using that 100 period moving average as support all the way up, and then you can see it couldn't quite break back above. Once we broke down from it, sort of mid-September, we then tried to then reclaim it on like the 26th, and you saw we failed to do that. And then since then, that's when we legged all the way down. So I could imagine that being a bit of a make or break point if we get back up to that 100 period moving average.
Yeah, I was looking at it on the USD chart as well.
Which would also line up with that sort of general resistance area.
Yeah, so
you can
there's
see
that resistance, but also this 50% retracements where it failed as well. The 50% fib, it's the same on the US dollar chart as well. This two, I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? If it gets to 2 BTC, it's a nice round number.
Exactly.
So there's up at 1.
Yeah. So I could imagine that being. I've actually just taken a bit of profit off from the position I opened close to the bottom, and I'll probably take some more off if we get up to that sort of 2 BTC level, because I think that could be quite hard to get through. And then if we break through it and, close some good time frames on it, then great, right? Because it might mean we could leg up quite a bit higher. But I think that's going to be the next obvious tricky point beyond where we are right now.
We might see it reject and then this come down and then eventually get up beyond like that. But yeah, it's been a nice trending chart, this one, hasn't it? So
yeah,
it's definitely one to keep an eye on. Good. Shall we have a quick look? I know that people like
the one niggle I'm having with Yearn at the moment, and this is just purely like a biased sentiment thing I've noticed. It's just when that bottom came in on crypto whenever it was, yesterday or the day before, when we bottomed at sort of 1.1 BTC, the amount of big accounts on crypto Twitter I saw flexing, saying I've bought the bottom. Just, I don't know, that sort of thing just makes me so nervous. So I don't know. It's yet to be proven that definitely is the bottom, but
we've got to be right eventually, haven't we? So
yeah, true.
So yeah, no, it does. It's still like a great chart, like great traders chart, just because of
it is.
It's just like, this is what a free market should look like. This is what the alts look like before institutions piled in or anything back in 2016, 17. It's just really super clean, head and shoulders tops. Sending like triangle breakouts, which sort of meet their targets as well. 3 waves up. In fact, actually, this has actually been as a 3 wave, and I think this will be a 50. Is that 50% of the way back down? Not quite, but effectively, it's a bit like a 3 wave. With if you looked at this on a logarithmic fib, anyway, that would be 50%, wouldn't it, of the move? So it's like textbook stuff. This is where like classical charting patterns and stuff like really come into their own, because you don't have it's just pure retail market psychology playing out.
Yeah.
So yeah, really nice one.
And also, Predator is an absolute legend on Yearn as well.
It is. Yeah.
It is. Been so good to me with this token. It's been absolutely brilliant.
I'm sure it paid it back
for sure.
Right, so yeah, let's have a look at a few other ones. So Ripple's been an interesting one, I think, lately. So it's been in this it's also come back to this 100 MA, but it did get some news, and I think that there's a good chance that this one's eventually going to break out to the upside. So I am tempted to just get like a bag of Ripple, as little as I like doing that, because again, it's been tested for the sell-off, and the bottom is 20, looks like 20 cents, 21 cents. It doesn't really seem to go below it much. I mean, obviously back in March it dropped another 50% beyond that, but again, this one might be quite an easily manageable trade for a long-term position, potentially. If you're interested in getting into Ripple long-term, because what's going to happen is we're going to end up with a head and shoulders potentially here, which would suggest, we might go back towards these 60. 60 cents was my original target when this thing broke out of here. I thought that we could go to 60 quite quickly. Obviously we're at 20 at the minute, so that's like, it's a good, 2x or whatever that you might be in for there. So
I'm trying to remember what their fundamental news is. They've got something coming in November, haven't they?
They've got so much money that they need something fundamental needs to happen.
Yeah.
So they used to come out with all sorts of different nonsensical partnerships back in 2016. So we could start to see some of that start to play out again. So definitely considering, once I take a bit more profit on the other positions, maybe recycling a little bit into a bag of Ripple. I don't want it to be too big, but it's nice to have a.
When it goes, it really flies, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It does do that. So yeah, Ripple's probably good for 30 cents. I could see it getting back up there, particularly if Bitcoin gets back to 12k. I think this thing's got a good chance of getting up to 30 quite quick. Zcash. I dumped that one actually. I haven't re-added to that, so I might have another look at Zcash as well. It's not too long before the halving now, is it? But
no, next month.
Yeah, so there's probably still an opportunity potentially there to get. It's not going to get probably much beyond $100 and odd, but that's quite a sizable move again. It'd be quite an interesting trade to take. This thing's knackered, but. You could probably put your stops pretty much below this week's lows at like 56 or something, and aim for 100. That's a nice trade to be in. So, again, not advice and all that, but I'll consider taking up a position in Zcash. I think maybe it's next week or something like that, if not slightly sooner. So yeah. Any coins that have been tickling your taste buds, Phil?
I still like the look of more in terms of sort of long-term holds rather than short-term trades. I still like Swipe. We were talking about it in the Alts chat again yesterday because, so if you remember, Swipe was the one we looked at. We were saying what a great sort of technical looking chart it was in terms of it had
Which one?
done that mega run up
versus Bitcoin.
I think. Probably, yeah. But both should look quite similar. Yeah, so it had that capitulation down, and then it tested that low again a couple of days ago, and it's bounced pretty hard off it. But I still just like the project long term. I think this is actually pretty cheap, and it's pretty good value down here.
Yeah, I was trying to think about it. There's no impact for guys like Swipe in the UK, is there, with their coins? I don't think there is.
Oh, what with this FCA announcement?
I was just wondering, is it somehow like a derivative, of their actual product? Perhaps, I don't know.
Yeah,
this was the one that I was a bit unsure about because I don't know how they'll classify their actual token. And if their product in the UK is the card, which uses this thing, which is somehow a derivative of their actual product, then it could be a problematic thing for the Swipe card. But I'm probably just I was in a bit of a this is bad mode at the time, just trying to think of everything that could possibly be wrong. But it does look like, again, it could make its way back to sort of 1700 Satoshis quite quickly if it gets moving. So
yeah, I think it's pretty good value. And do you remember? Here's an account you probably haven't heard for a while. Do you remember Secrets of Crypto? like a little wizard.
Yeah, I actually only followed that, and I don't think I'd ever seen it post. And then it did post quite recently.
Off what?
Yeah.
Off the swipe post he made.
I didn't see it. It may well have been that. What did he say actually?
One of the guys posted it in one of the alts chats yesterday, and he was just saying he picked up a bag, and he's always been pretty good in terms of scooping things up quite low. I mean, there's obviously not a reason to go away and pick some up yourself, but it was interesting to see him talk about it as well after we've been talking about it.
It's still pretty low down here, isn't it? Nice double bottom.
Yeah.
Look at the OBV. Yeah, it looks like it's reset quite nicely actually. Probably it's sort of screaming to me that it should be up here, up at 1700, because that's where it was, back through this consolidation up here. So yeah, I think the sell-off volume has not been anywhere near as bad as what it could have been to get it down here. Probably quite a low sell-off volume versus the buying power. So people probably just haven't capitulated on this one so much, which is always a good sign, because they're obviously holding it for the longer term. But a lot of the buying came in above this level, which is why we've got this resistance here. So obviously some of the guys who bought into this just bailed out back up here. So maybe next time, they've already had their chance really, and those people who really wanted to get out probably did. So it could break through quite quickly actually, and it's like a textbook double bottom. So yeah, nice looking one for sure.
Haven, I still like that privacy project. Don't know, I haven't looked at the chart the last day or two actually, so I'm not quite sure what it's been doing in the last sort of 48 hours, but I still like it. And it's interesting, the narrative in DeFi. So this, as obviously DeFi has been cooling down the last couple of weeks, and there's lots of concerns around privacy in DeFi.
Yeah,
and I'm just wondering if you're going to see a lot of collaborations with privacy projects and DeFi over the coming months, as DeFi tries to enable more greater privacy for large accounts. I mean that's just a hunch, right? No idea if that's going to happen.
Yeah, but, I think Joe007 posted something about. It's probably worth going and having a read about this cryptocurrency enforcement framework by I think DOJ's Department of Justice, isn't it, in the States? And they're basically not happy about the privacy coins. So I think it's Zcash, Monero, Dash, Zcash. So
yeah,
it's worth having a read through what he's written there, because I think it's quite relevant to that stuff. Excuse me, just I need to get the corona out.
What was that guy on the Fast Show who always used to cough?
Oh God, I can't remember.
Bob Fleming or something, wasn't it?
That's old school. That.
My age.
Haven, it does look really super strong though. Like this one's like performed the best, hasn't it? One of the best out of.
It's held up really well. Held up really well.
That's normally a good sign for something up there. So interesting. I do have certain people telling me continuously to buy it because they're quite heavily invested in it, and I can see why they're raving about it at the minute, given the strength that it's shown. So that's all good. I wish Joe would remove my message from his pinned post. What's that? Oh yeah, I think you should, yeah, because you started laying into him. Yeah, he's not best pleased if you have a go at him. He's got a bit of a bite.
Yeah,
you were giving him a hard time.
So
yeah, he is. Well, he can do whatever he wants if he's able to carry a 25 million quid open loss on his Finex account, and whatever he wants he gets, I think. So what else we got? So there's a few requests to have a look at a couple of things. Rune BTC. Comanche, what are you trading there? What's Rune, Phil? Any ideas?
No. Heard of it. Don't really know what it is.
Well, it's certainly retraced.
Hasn't it?
Yeah, obviously it's sold off a bit today. I don't know if it's a DeFi thing, is it? It's come out this year, so probably. But yeah, it's this is quite an interesting chart. It's got obvious support and resistance going on at this sort of 6,000 satoshis, or around 6,900 satoshis, but it's just had a big sell going on today, a big rejection. Again, it looks like it's going to be quite difficult to manage this one. 3,200 to 4,000. Your stops are going to be... I mean, it's probably not going to go below this, is it, really? It doesn't look like it. But, yeah, if you're already long... Are you long or short on this Comanche? Or no position? Because...
Oh, Thor chain, that's what it is, isn't it? It's Thor chain.
Scalp spot, yeah. Thor chain. What's that? What's that do?
Something to do with swapping assets across different chains. I mean, I don't know what its USP is, because I'm looking at the website and I feel I've seen 10 other sites do something similar. But I do know some people who are banging to DeFi that I respect talk it up quite a lot. So there's obviously something to it that's that they can do that is quite impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I'd possibly look at buying this the 100 MA again. It's this 100 MA's been that's on the 4 hour. Where were you looking on the daily or on? No, it was the 4 hour, wasn't it, on Wi-Fi?
Yeah, because I think it works out about the same as a 20-day moving average.
Right.
That's why it seems to be quite effective. But obviously, if you're looking at charts like a lot of the DeFi ones that don't have much price history, it's quite good to use the look around on the 4 hour. But yeah, it's quite a nice little thing I've noticed in some of these newer coins, that the 100 period moving average on the 4 hour is often quite effective, like you can see here.
Yeah, I think well, the logic's probably just that everyone's got the same problem, which is there's not much TA you can go off, is there, really? So as soon as you can get a moving average, you'll start either leaning in at those at a support or use it as resistance, which is obviously what's happened here. So yeah, I mean, I could see maybe he's taken up some longs from the just over 4k towards 6k satoshis. Quite a big, quite volatile though. So again, it's not something I'd be like all in on. So yeah, that's that one. Let's just have a quick look at what's going on. All right, it looks like we're getting a bit of resistance now on Bitcoin. It's always really, really difficult to keep your shit together when Bitcoin's trying to break out like this. You know, to maintain your discipline is quite difficult. Are you long on Bitcoin at the moment, Phil?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's good to know. Did you 100 exit?
No. I don't trust myself with too high leverage these days.
Yeah, I don't either.
So no, I didn't. I resisted that temptation. But no, just obviously Wednesday's live stream, we were talking about it. A lot of we were getting lots of buy the dip signals, really, whether it was the spent output profit ratio on chain, the 128-day moving average, the Chaikin money flow, we were saying as well, coming back to zero. So there was lots of signals the last sort of week or two that were saying, this looks like accumulation here, buy the dip opportunity. So pretty pleased to see it. It's been tracking up.
Yeah, one thing.
And actually,
I wanted to.
Yeah, sorry, go on, Phil.
I wanted to check where we were with Where's the Puel multiple? Yeah. So that that is starting to try to break out of here a little bit. It will do probably if we go back to, I don't know where it would need to get to oversold. God, it would have to really do some punchy numbers to get up to oversold now, or towards these levels.
I think we're good on that one for a while. Really, we should hopefully just see it track up.
Probably need to get to sort of
quite steadily.
18k or something before that would start looking toppy. So so it would be pretty nice if the miners have finished dumping off the coins. Because I think we have seen a fair amount of miner selling going on. If this is one that I'm definitely going to keep a close eye on for, jumping out of the spot long position once we reclaim 11k and towards the end of the year. I think this will be one of my go-to charts for trying to manage, securing a decent profit for the last quarter of the year.
A good one to sorry.
This is.
I was just going to say, that's sort of a bit mid-zone, but what I would say is that it can track up with that upper boundary quite a while before we top out. So you can't see it too much on those, but it has done that in the past where both price and the active addresses are tracking up at the same time. So I'm not too concerned by that just yet.
No, it should be all right. You can see the same sort of thing happened when we broke 10k last time anyway. So
exactly, and then still went up a couple of k from there, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's okay. And if you go back and look at advanced MVT signal, it's actually looking pretty nice right now. So this is another one of the more effective, I would say, shorter term live charts and on-chain indicators. So a lot of them are sort of longer term, but if you see there, you can see we're pretty close to that lower boundary, which is kind of where you want to be. Where you don't want to be is up towards the red, and we're a good distance away from that at the moment. So I think it looks pretty good to me, actually.
Yeah. So this is, what's the difference between this and the standard one? So there's the normal one's just market cap over transaction volume, isn't it?
Yeah, and this uses a 90-day moving average just to make it more sensitive, basically to kind of peaks and troughs in the market.
Yeah.
And then obviously what I've done here is I've added the standard deviation bands, because if you just look at MVT signal these days, you just get massive drift because of all the layer 2 stuff going on. So in short, you just want to, you don't want to be, at this point now, I would be concerned if we were up near the dotted red line. The fact we're closer towards the green line makes me feel a lot more comfortable in terms of potential upside when you cross-reference that with the fact that, we've just had all those sort of by the dip signals that I just mentioned, spent output profit ratio, we've pulled back to the 128-day moving average, other things like chiking money flow as well. So we're lots of by the dip signals, and there's not much in terms of on-chain data that's saying we're getting overheated.
Yeah, good. So this is effectively telling us the market cap relative to the volume on-chain is low compared to what we've seen where it gets too high. It's pretty similar actually to that other indicator that we just looked at, isn't it, in a way?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Interesting. Good. So the narrative for us is that that we are happy that we probably got it right, that this was the bottom, but we still really need to break and find support at 11,100. So you never know. We've seen at the weekends loads of times where we'll get a fake out and maybe a couple of 4-hour candles, maybe 3-4-hour candles, and then you get something brutal like this. In fact, a great example of that, is back way back when here. Doesn't look hugely dissimilar, does it? We broke above a key moving average, fan support. Obviously this took longer. And then today, this would be us now. And then we got this at the weekend, which completely shafted everyone. And then it retraced like 50% of it. So I think that's, the big watch out for the weekend is something like that happening again here. So you could see maybe a push up to 11.3. And then I think that would be a great place to secure some profit if you've still leveraged long. Otherwise, that 50 DMA would look good. Right, let's have a look at some other stuff. Short DeFi. You seem to be in the mood for shorting today, Mr. Comanche, I've noticed. So there's a quick question here actually on the liquidity and SPF indicator. So this will probably not make too much sense. I'll just come out of this. So this indicator you get with the either if you buy Predator or if you've got the VIP package. But what it's designed to do is you get these. I've got these liquidity points, which are basically the yellow triangles. And where there's no yellow triangle, apart from the most recent one, it's just a bug in the trading view script. There's no forward line there. It just shows you that it's an untapped liquidity point. So there's a couple of good examples here. What they have is this thing called a swing failure pattern, which you'll hear a lot of people talk about. But basically, what a swing failure pattern is where below these liquidity points, like this is a key low here, right? And what you will find is that you'll get a stop run off the bottom of the point there, which you can see. And then if the candle closes above it, it tends to be a sign that there's going to be a reversal. And actually the reason why the liquidity was run was purely to draw in stops. So if you think about it, just to take it a step back, that'll probably be enough information for some of you. But what will actually happen is guys will have their stops below this wick. We all know that that's how people generally trade. Sometimes it's the exact right thing to do. Sometimes it's the exact wrong thing to do. And what institutions or people who've got a lot of money who can move the market like to do is if they want to be long after all of this, maybe they didn't get filled as much as they like to in here. If they want to be long, well, if they start buying, it'll push price up too much, and they don't want to have price going up. They want to buy it at the lower prices. So what they do is they will push the price down because obviously they've got the firepower to do it. They push the price down. They hunt the stops here, and the purpose of hunting the stops is to make everyone start to sell. Which, there would have been stops against all of these levels, to be honest, but they want to try and draw in those stops which people have got from longs, and obviously create the selling liquidity for them to then buy in. And when you see that kind of price action, that's the way the traditional markets work. In particular, their charts are a lot less clean than the crypto charts. This goes on a hell of a lot because there's institutions doing it against other institutions and stuff like that. But when you see this close above, it's normally a good sign that you're going to get a reversal. So the way that you can see it here as well, and you get a tick or a check mark or whatever you call it in the States, where it's run the stop. So you can see it doesn't always work. Like, for example, it works sort of better on the 4 hours, I find. But here it did run it, and then it sold off in the day, but the following candle it went on. Here it obviously ran it, and then it perfectly called the top. Yesterday it did it. We did get a bit of a sell-off today, and then it's bounced on up. So it can be indicative of a hidden hand in the market who's trying to move the price around. you'd argue here actually what's happened is the guy who's, if I created the narrative, but the people who did it here might have done it here to you as well, and they've done it over the full range of the market. So it's useful to have on your chart to just think, where are the liquidity points that we need to be worrying about or keeping an eye on to see if they get run, and if they do get run, then you might see that there's a sell-off. So here, these two liquidity points over here were run yesterday and were closed below, and we did come back down a little bit. I wouldn't use this personally for more than just short-term trading, or to go along. It's very good for scalping because a lot of people look at this stuff. I'd say it's only really useful on the 4 hour and above, but yeah, it helps with your narrative if you want to be directionally going against a breakout. I mean, here for example, it was run, and even when price starts to come below, some people would have already started shorting it at that point. And then, you get a reasonable pullback. It happened here. This is where I really did think the bottom was in at this point, because obviously liquidity was run over here, but all of this liquidity was run. If you look at how much of it was run, it ran everything. All of these stops here were run, and then it closed above 2 of the liquidity points. And I think we were actually going to reverse at that point, but that's when Trump got ill. This is the Trump candle, or the first Trump candle. And then, you can see it happened again down here, and obviously it ran up. And then, so that's kind of how you use it. It's more to just draw attention to, I mean, all of these lines on here now don't really serve for much other than just to show you that where it did and didn't work. But it serves as a good reminder as to where other people might have their stops. Now, I used to have in Predator these points, because these are basically Williams fractal points, and I used to use those as where to put your stops for Predator, and I was just getting stopped out too much when I was using them. So what I did was I came up with a different method, which effectively uses dynamic stops based on the volatility of the price. It just makes a whole load more sense than to be basically like a sitting duck in the market. Because even if you think about it, if you were to put your stops right on the point here, well, you're just asking for trouble. But you could give them a little bit of extra wiggle room in case someone does come for the stops. But then how much is the selling cascade going to be? You just don't know that information. So it's really gambling, to be honest. So I would lean on the side of, if you are going to have to use your stops for this sort of thing, just get out earlier, just have your stop closer, but taking into account how volatile it is at the minute. I mean, I can tell you already that because prices were shooting up here, your stops would probably want to be wider than they would be in a consolidation, because you know that price is going to potentially sell off and then get bought up quickly. So yeah, that's how to use this, is to just look at that liquidity stuff. And then if you're unsure whether or not there's been it's nice to have on, here, for example, this is a good reminder. You would have probably forgotten that these stops here have been run, or these some guys will have been stopped out here. So you might have thought, well, this was a pump to get people short, which, I mean, you got what was that, like $100 and nearly $200 pullback. So it was good enough for a quick scalp short, certainly for at least 1 or 2% here and there. So does that make sense? Which indicator is this? This is, you've got it, or you should have it, liquidity and SPF. SFP, sorry. SPF, something else. Is that not suntan lotion? God. Proper dad song.
Yeah, I was trying to remember what it was then. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Back to 50.
Yeah, it's how. Anyway, we'll move on from being sad old men. Right, so that's that. Not got around to checking out these new ones. Yeah. So whenever, I mean, if I create a new indicator, generally speaking, if it's like something like this, it will just go into the VIP package, or the Predator package if you've got that. Whereas, sometimes if I just create like an Ethereum OBV, I'll just give that one away for general use. But yeah, so I've got a few ideas for a couple of other indicators that we'll be working on in the background shortly once I've finished sorting out a few things for Decentrader's website this week and next. So that's that. Let's have a quick look where the weekly VWAP is actually while we're here. Oh no, that's the... There we go. So the weekly VWAP's still back at 10,760. So if I was going to speculatively put bids, you know how we saw off that, the weekly VWAP's never a bad place. Well, I won't say that. Disclaimer, sometimes it is a bad place. It was a bad place here when I was trying to get long, and then we had the BitMEX news, so it can be a bad place, if there's a fundamental reason. But if you're in a trending market, the weekly VWAP's a good idea to have your bids on. So I'll probably stick some maybe at this 775 level, which is probably quite close to that 50-day moving average as well. Anyhow, let's have a look. Best just check the traditional markets, I think, actually. So Bitcoin continues to pump on the CME. It's now at 11. Is this running away a little bit here, actually? Nasdaq's still going. S&P's... Nasdaq's looking a little bit better than the S&P now. I'll probably close the wrong bloody position there, but never mind. What else we got? I don't know why I have the Germans on there. I'm really not that interested. I closed out my China A50 as well because they appear to be pumping alongside the other markets. And gold, yeah. Well, gold's really going for it, isn't it? This is going to be my golden egg, so to speak. I think this gold position, if it can get above this level, then I think we are going to be in for quite a run on gold. So that is the sort of candle that I like to see on a Friday when you're long on gold. Right. So has anybody else got any specifics that they want us to have a look at? RCN. I swear every time I open one of these charts from you, it always looks like this. It's like no price action at all, like gappy as hell. I'm probably not on the right exchange here, but let's have a look if there's a better one.
You might need to go to ChartX Pro if it's a new DeFi thing.
Don't put me outside of my comfort zone on a Friday afternoon.
New technology.
I refuse to do that. I'll have to give you the screen share if we're doing that. So yeah.
Oh no, that's all right. There you go.
Yeah, Ripio Credit Network. I think you might have told me about this one before. Yeah, it's obviously me who just doesn't know about all these shit coins. I should stop spending so much time on Bitcoin and get into all this crazy action. But yeah, so let's just have a quick look what's actually happened here. So 28, obviously it's been a project going on since 2018. So 2020 has not been great to it, has it? Why are you guys asking me about this? Is there some reason that something good's happened, or is it just it looks like it might be bottoming?
I don't know anything about Ripio.
I don't either. I've swear I've never even heard of half this stuff. I mean, it's obviously coming.
Like, it seems like it does something similar to Aave Lend, but maybe I'm not understanding exactly what it does. It seems like a similar thing.
It's kind of like all of these charts, isn't it? Where it's like, well, it's nearly back to that level from which it came, and once that happens, well, I know that people like to pick up a bag at that point. I mean, okay, so apparently the project's promising, gaining traction with borrowers in, I'm assuming that's Latin America. So, yeah, but it's just been, since May, it's just been obviously massively out of favour compared to all the DeFi projects and all that sort of thing. So, I mean, what's that, 357 Satoshis? It's been as low as 100. I mean, it's probably never going to go below 100 now. It's back to this level that it's been at and found a decent bounce from in the past. It's well and truly sold off. Obviously, it's below this VPVR. Let's have a look. I mean, I know the OBV is going to look like absolute crap, I would imagine. It's not so bad. Not so bad. The thing is, it's been pretty flat throughout all of this. Not much buying and selling going on. So I could see why, you know, if you wanted to get long here, it's not, well, it's certainly not as terrible as it was at like 1,000 Satoshis. So yeah, I don't know. You could lean into it a little bit and take on a bit of a position. Maybe he's looking for 700 or so, but it's not. It's not really the sort of chart that I would be looking at unless there's like a fundamental investor thing, like you say, that there may be some sort of potential upside to come from. You know, it's normally you would see some sort of evidence in this sell-off through the year of beyond just this one pump to kind of imply that there's some sort of knowledge going on, that this thing might go up, but obviously it's all just down. So not one I would be buying personally, but I can see for speculation purposes, you know, you might have a small bag of it or something, I guess. XMR. So we did just talk about XMR generally having a bit of a potential problem. So I encourage you to go and have a look at what Joe had posted. No, that's Tezos, isn't it? Right. So this one's obviously just kept going, hasn't it? And it looks like it's squeezing up as well. Monero seems to be looking pretty good, I'd say. Certainly doing the best out of everything, isn't it? Which is normally a good sign. OBV's looking pretty strong as well. I could see it. What's this against Bitcoin, is it? Yeah, maybe it's coming. I think we talked about it. In fact, did we not talk a couple of weeks ago about it potentially getting to 0.1 level, 0.15 or something like that? Yeah, and here. I can't see it really getting beyond sort of 1.012. But it does look pretty strong, particularly on the weekly. OBV looks really strong. So yeah, not screaming to sell it at the minute. I can see holding it seems to be the thing that would make sense if you're already in a position on it. But yeah, targeting up at this 61.8, 1.618 and 2x off the bottom seems to be the sensible targets. Obviously we drew that last time and we haven't had same conclusion basically. This price point over here looks to be where you should be targeting if you're already in a long position. It's difficult to get long when you get things like this. You know, you can see the weekly candles are clearly always putting in higher lows. So if someone was desperate to get in, I mean, let's just have a look. You know, say like you FOMO in right now. Well, you can work on the basis that every week is printing a higher low. So you would probably put your stops against like near to the low, going against what I just said earlier. But you'd probably put your stops against near to the low, and there's still like a 3 to 3.1 if you really pushed it. You could definitely get a trade out of this to the long side, and then drag your stop with you as you go, on the same basis. So Monero still looks pretty strong to me. The dollar, I think we went through the dollar, didn't we? Let's just have a look at it in a bit more detail. I might come back and have another look at gold as well, because I know someone was mentioning that. Dollar. So this was the position I was in on the dollar, but I did somewhat bottle it earlier today because I've just been having a good day. I've had a good few days, a good couple of days, haven't had like a difficult week, so I just like to take profit at that point. But that was the trade that I got into on the dollar, and it has pretty much sold off since. So I think the position I was looking at was maybe it coming back to 92. I mean, the dollar does tend to reverse quite aggressively, so if it does, and the technicals still will tell me to be short here, I could still see the target being relevant. I mean, it might actually bounce here, to be honest. This is probably the time to take profit if you're still short on it. But if there is a bounce, it'll probably be back up towards 93.35, and then I'll probably get back into the short on the dollar. I don't really know how the election's going to impact it, but I mean, like I said, Trump's tweet about the Nancy delaying the stimulus bill. Trump just basically said, well, yeah, we're going to do it after the election, and Nancy what's-her-face, if those guys win, then they're going to do it after the election. So all we know is there is going to be stimulus. It's just it's a question of when, not if. So so that's why I thought it was just an absolute nothing burger of a sell-off, to be honest. And again, that was one of the reasons why I remained pretty long and strong on Bitcoin, because it's just a nothing comment which tells you something that you already know. And if you see the market overreact like that, and it's difficult for me to say this now, but and it's easy for me to say this now, more difficult at the time. If you get some illogical situation like that, where they say we will be doing stimulus, it's just going to be in a couple, in like 6 weeks rather than in like 2 weeks, and everybody sells off. Well, what's the logic in that? It just makes no sense whatsoever. Like, what companies have become less valued because in the last for 2 weeks their cash flows might be slightly impaired. Well, that's not a reason to sell off a company, is it? So just when you get nonsense shit like that, it's always a good opportunity to counter trade the market. I mean, some people would probably argue that I think the markets have said that they want that liquidity, and they would actually get it by the traders would get it by devaluing stuff. So, and to be fair, Trump did come back quite quickly, and he did post a couple of nice more positive tweets after that. So it does go to show that the markets can influence some of the presidential stuff, which is ridiculous, really. But yeah, nothing news to provoke the other side. Yeah, exactly. It's all good. This is why we like trading, right? If you like politics and economics and just generally stuff like that, it's like the perfect job, really. Right, one on cable. So we did have a look at this not too long ago, and it is obviously relevant for me. And I've got dollars, so I mean, I'm not in a trade, I just have some dollars. So yeah, it looks like it's going to go back to 132 again, doesn't it? I've got an alarm on here. I'm not too sure why I had that. Let's see if it says something. Buy Gbp Usd. Okay. So obviously I didn't get the chance to do that. But yeah, I mean, you can see the same pattern I can see, can't you? Which is this inverse head and shoulders. They do seem to play out okay on this. So 130 is obviously resistance for GBP USD, but when it breaks it goes pretty quick up to 33, 34. So again, if it gets above 30, then we know where it's going to go. It's probably quite a nice long side trade. And if we're assuming the dollar's going to continue with the weakness, then it would make sense that other currencies like the pound do strengthen somewhat. But don't forget, the UK's got all of its Brexit shit going on. So yeah, the Brexit talks, I don't even know where we are with those now. I've sort of given up following it, to be honest. But we've got stimulus that we're going to need to do of our own. So I don't know. The pound just doesn't feel like it's going to be a currency that's generally strengthening overall. So yeah, I think if you do take a long position, then I'd certainly be coming out at like 32, 33. Once it makes it there. I mean, it's barely traded above there for any amount of time since April 2018. So you'd have a hard time persuading me now that it's going to fundamentally have a big change since. Was that Brexit there, was it? Or was that? No, this was Brexit, I think. When did we decide to leave the EU? Was it? I think it must be this candle here.
I can't remember.
It seems so bloody long ago. 2016 maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking hell. I mean, if you look at this chart, it's actually, it feels like there should be a violin playing really for this ship. I mean, I remember when I was a lad, when I was playing poker, you'd stick like 50 or $100 into your PokerStars account and it would cost you 25 quid. And that's sort of my goalpost. Is I was playing poker quite a bit right around this point in time, and obviously now you were getting like nearly half that. So yeah, poor old Blighty going down the Swanee, unfortunately, versus the dollar. But we're in this holding pattern now, and people still hold the sterling in their reserve currencies for now. So I think it makes up like 5% of the global reserves are in the sterling. So not that that's going to change this in the short term, but yeah, 33, 1.33, 1.34. I could see the benefit in having a relatively small punt to the long side on that. You need some pounds. Yeah. Now's probably, I don't know how soon you need them. Why do you need pounds? Just buy the Bitcoin. Goes up. Yeah, you need a house. Well, the right the right financial can I say it? I suppose I am still a chartered accountant. Don't sue me, but the textbook thing to do, I think that's probably the best way to caveat it, would be if you're buying, I don't know, £1 million house, you sound like a rich guy. If you're buying an expensive house and you've decided that that's what you're going to do and you're going to spend that much and that's the value of the property now, then you should at least hedge the £1 million now. That's what, if you're hedging properly, that's what you should do. When you make the decision to make the purchase, or you commit to make the purchase, that's when you should do your currency transaction, rather than otherwise you're speculating. So that's the textbook answer. But yeah, it's probably going to great. I can't see it going. If you've got dollars and you're holding out for above 1.3, then 1.3 is sort of the best thing you're going to get, I think. So yeah, maybe it's 1.32 or something like that. No problem. And remember, that was not advice. UKT. I definitely don't want to give advice. We're talking about the British pound. Right, this is that one we looked at a while ago, isn't it? UK Trust. Don't know what that means, but what actually does it call it? Don't know how you get the name of the thing. Do you know much about this one? I keep asking you that,
Nope.
and they're like totally obscure things which have got all these breaks, and I'm like, yeah, it's not a reflection of your lack of knowledge.
I feel like a noob now, mate. Thanks very much.
Yeah,
That's 2 on the trot. I haven't known.
Nearly kicked over the microphone. Yeah, no, I think we did briefly look into it, but we're looking at so much of this stuff now. I mean, it doesn't look disastrous, does it? It just looks bloody untradeable. Was it on Coinbase as well, actually, this one, I think?
You trust, accept payments, crypto payments easily.
Yeah, like everyone says that. Okay, this is the chart we had on last time. So it looks... Were we here last time, Bevis? I would have drawn this. I mean, I don't know how many weeks ago. This is 20th of August. Yeah. We're possibly already up at this point when we looked at it. But obviously, it's broke out and hit this key fib level. And now it's sort of consolidating. It doesn't look particularly fantastic right now, but I think this is one of the ones where we said it could... You'd have to trade it based on... fib levels when they go, and at the minute, I don't know, it's just sort of going sideways. There's not really a huge amount to say. Let's have a look at OBV. Yeah, OBV, I think this is the one where there was like a ton of volume just came in out of nowhere. Yeah, whether that's real or not, I mean, who really knows? It doesn't look organic, does it? It's sort of... The thing was about to go to zero, and then all of a sudden, like all these people became interested in it. That just doesn't feel right, does it? I mean, you're probably going to tell me that there was some sort of fantastic, like, save the day information that came out there, but it just does. That looks like massive red flag, like to me, that someone's come in to save the day. But anyway, since then it's effectively been flatlining, hasn't it? The volume's gone down to zero. I would be like really, really cautious for this one because of this obvious dodgy volume stuff going on here, and there's no sign of continuation coming in from volume. Like there's no particular buying interest. Certainly nothing like whatever this was meant to be. I would go as far as saying, regrettably, that this could be... It looks a little bit like an exit pump to me, to the people who were trapped up at this 0.101 level. I don't know. I don't know enough about the project or anything, the history of it, but I would definitely proceed with caution. I mean, it looks a little bit like a descending triangle, doesn't it? So, yeah. I don't know how big if you're just interested in the project or whatever, but is that on logarithmic? Yeah. All right. So actually, when you take it off log, it starts to look... This is not what you want to see here. When price is coming back down to a key level from which it broke out and had all this volume behind it, where's the buyers? They're just not there. So maybe you'll get some saviour coming in again like this, but... yeah, I don't know. Proceed with caution.
Yeah, it doesn't look great.
No. Be careful with that one. Could get obliterated quite quickly. Dot. Probably makes sense to have a look at that one actually as well. Dot, I think, was another one that was like going down like the Titanic, wasn't it? I'm not too sure what I was drawing over here. Looks like a penis, doesn't it? But it clearly was the top. Anyway, yeah, this doesn't look good. Actually, I did have some longs when I was up here. I think I was trying to buy in. Maybe it's here or something like that. I don't know. Can't remember. Didn't hold on to it for very long. Might have even got out of it when it was around here. But I think Snake was the one who told me that they effectively did like a share split on this thing. Did you know about that? I'm throwing you under a bus.
Yeah, that was no, I do. This is a coin I have heard of, Phil. Thanks. Yeah, I actually had a bag of this, and so basically what happened was they did do that, but before the price action that you can see here on this chart. So it was I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was over at Poloniex. There was they basically had two tokens going at the same time. And I remember chatting to some of the boys in the alts chat about it, because one of them was pumping, and I think it was someone buying it up thinking it was really cheap, not realizing that this sort of split had happened. Right. And then it just absolutely crashed. So yeah, a bit of a funny one that confused a lot of people when they did it.
There was quite a lot of I've noticed some what are sort of classed as respectable accounts sort of were really pumping this quite hard on Twitter, which I won't forget that. But yeah, I mean, Snake saying it was more like a 10-to-1 share split, which effectively ran it pretty high. I don't know too much about the tech on this side of things, but it basically took a lot of market share away from Tezos, didn't it? I think people were starting to say that this is a better bag, but actually, which might actually be another reason to be in Tezos, given that this thing's sold off so heavily. But I don't know.
It had a lot of hype. It had a lot of hype over that when it got listed, and then had that split. And then, I think I even know the account that you're probably referring to. Yeah. Put Shield really hard. And then, Polkadot as a project could actually still do quite well, right? In the next few months, it is a promising project. I don't think it's complete nonsense. But yeah, I was going to say exactly what you've just drawn there. I think we're ranging now, and we'll just have to see how it plays out over the next few months. I think it will actually do okay. I don't think this is the sort of thing that will go to zero in the near future.
I mean, it does look like it's breaking out, to be fair. It's trying. Only out of this to probably go back up to somewhere for someone to get out of the horrible position that they're stuck in.
Yeah. I think the project is credible. It is very interesting. There are quite a few projects building on it, but it just got overhyped, and that's why we had this big retrace. But like you say, it's looking like it's trying to break out at the moment. Yeah,
I mean, if I was long on this, again, I'm not. But the obvious place is these highs. This big volume node here. So the volume's just really dropped off again. All of this volume up here is a big capitulation wick. That was obviously the one to buy, wasn't it? When you say big capitulation volume like that, that's never a particularly bad time to buy. But it does seem to have established this bottom quite nicely here. I personally, it's not a chart that screams to me that I want to buy it, but I could, I don't know. It's just right up against this VPVR as well. Now we've zoomed out a little bit as well. So it doesn't meet the criteria for me to want to buy it at the moment. So yeah, I guess that's DOT. Tech-wise, DOT is better than Tezos. DOT, AVAX and Sol are better than Tezos in terms of the tech. Fair enough. I can't argue literally with that. Sushi. Phil, is Sushi Coin dead? I mean Philip. Let's have a look.
Let's look at Sushi. I'm going to gloat here. I nailed the absolute top here and posted it in the Trade Ideas channel. I sold the very, very top of that. See that spike?
This one? This?
Yeah, I sold that one. Look at it on... if you're on ChartX Pro, that's where you get the real price history.
Right.
Because I'm not sure... Whenever... whenever exchanges first list a project, you get some crazy wick, don't you? So I don't think that's fair to use that. I'm trying to think where I would have listed it before Binance. I'm not sure if any of the
FTX.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, I sold the top of that and posted it in Trade Ideas. There you go. It can be cross-referenced. Yeah, so that was a real. So I've talked about in live streams about how you get different sort of life cycles on projects. So you've got long-term cycles like Bitcoin. You've got fashion-term cycles like, well, I don't know, most alts, and then you get fads. And Sushi was a classic fad, and that's why, like, as soon as it pumped, it was time to get out. Much like all these forks of like Yearn, Sushi was essentially a fork of Uniswap, right? I think, if I remember correctly. And it was just pure fad, peak hysteria of DeFi, decentralized exchanges. So, and then what happened? It fucking dumped. Sam at FTX tried to save it and clearly did not. I don't know the recent.
Is this the developer dumping it? That's what ultimately happened.
Yeah, that's the one you're thinking of, the sushi chef or whatever, Chef Nom or whatever he called himself. But yeah, he basically did a runner, which a glorious runner, and then I think some of the big cats in the space, like Sam, sort of talked him back, gave half of the money back, I think. And then, to be honest, I stopped following it because I was out and I was thinking this is all just Twitter politics bullshit that I'm not interested in. And it was clearly a fad. So is Sushi Coin dead? Well, I mean, it doesn't look too great. But who knows? Maybe Sam wants to pull it back from the brink.
Well, he'll probably want to pump it to get, like, I don't know where he bought it.
Yeah, exactly, right. I don't know. No, I think it was before then. I think he was... could have been. I stopped following it, to be honest. But yeah, it probably was around then.
Yeah.
And then everyone thought, oh yeah, he's our saviour. It's all gonna, 100x from here, and then slow bleed.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing on there that's attractive other than the fact that you sold it before it went down 95%. So, congrats.
But well, I mean, it was part luck as well, but it was actually fib retracement levels, and it tapped a level perfectly. But the bigger point was that it was clearly a fad project, and with that sort of stuff, you just got to be so careful. I mean, alts generally, we all know, like, really high risk, but when you're getting those sort of fad things coming through, like, I wouldn't want to be in them for more than a few days, really, because you're going to be able to make money elsewhere, but these things, as you can see on this chart, they can literally dump like 80-90% in a few days. So
I think Thomas in Puerto Rico is saying, do you hear yourself? The sushi chef left with all the money.
Yeah, exactly right.
I was finding it just
absolutely
hard to take
ridiculous.
like any of that stuff seriously. I know there was a lot of money to be made, but like I was working mainly on this project and trying to get bedded in on that while everyone was running around after like hot dogs and sushis and all this sort of shit.
Pizza,
how's hot dog?
Yeah, kimchi.
What's the ticker for hot dog? Dog, maybe.
I'm not sure if that one made it onto the big exchanges, mate. So you may not find it on TradingView.
I missed out on hot dog and pizza probably as well. Domino's pizza,
yeah. Like kimchi.
I do fancy a pizza actually. Would be nice. Schnitzel was a thing as well. No, hot dog was a thing as well. Hot dog was also a thing.
It was, yeah.
Schnitzel. Oh dear, what a ridiculous game it is we played. This is a serious trading conversation.
It's the Friday show. We're a bit more relaxed on Fridays.
Fuck token.
Yeah.
I don't know if YouTube, if we upload it on there, are they going to complain about us swearing all the time? I don't know. Who cares? Just create a new channel if they do.
No, the ticker was hot dog. You're right, but not on. Didn't make it to the big exchanges.
Yeah, I haven't even cracked open a beer yet, and we're already talking rubbish. Right, so there was a few other. I mean, we've probably neglected the chart requests a little bit because we've typically sort of picked them up on the Friday actually and just gone through them there. But so Ivana was asking about Wi-Fi, Uni, XTZ, and ETH, and I think we have delivered.
Yeah.
Crypto Cockroach. I don't think I've noticed that guy before. I like the name. KDA USDT. Right. Looks like I've had a look at this one before, and it certainly did not continue on the way up there. But obviously, what we were doing here was looking at the fib extension levels as to where it might go, and clearly it didn't want to go up. So, I mean, you can always fix your chart by bringing the fib channel back down, but it's obviously retraced the whole thing. Cardano, I don't know, Cardano. And OBV's totally reset as well. So actually, I mean, I'm not going to ask you, Phil, but I've no idea what this one does either. It doesn't really matter though, does it? You don't actually need to know. You just need to be able to trade the chart. And it does look like this thing's almost entirely retraced. Almost entirely retraced its way back down. So I don't know. I could see there being an argument for maybe if you're really interested in this project, maybe getting back in. It's a nice rounded bottom coming in. So yeah, I could see a small bag of that would be relatively interesting, but there's nothing suggesting it's breaking to the upside. It would just be because it's fully retraced all of this, and if you believe the project's going to do something, then it might be like a 2 or a 3xer. But yeah, I don't know.
It was a if I remember correctly, I think it's a Polkadot project. So we were talking about it in the DeFi channel back in August, and some of the guys caught that pump. They nailed it. Nice. But obviously, as Polkadot and a lot of those sorts of projects have cooled off over the past month or two, it's pulled back. But I certainly think this wouldn't be a bad level if you really think the project's good. I don't know the details of the project, but I can see some of those Polkadot projects doing quite well going forwards when the time is right. It's just how long do you have to wait and how patient can you be, really? Because it could just not do much for a good little while, a good month or two, or maybe even a bit longer.
Well, Ripple's always the testament to hanging on for dear life and then it just never returning, or apparently not returning. You can hold these bags for a hell of a long time, and just generally, just a general finance thing, you want to use your capital where it's going to actually make effect at the time. Having it just sitting in a bag that might eventually do something in 2 years, well, you've just wasted that capital there. I mean, it might not go down much further, but you could have been making 1% a day on Bitcoin or something like that.
Exactly.
So while it looks okay, it's not one particularly for me. Mr. Fawcett has requested Link USD. I don't know if we've been through that yet, but why not? I think, have we been through it? Let's just quickly cycle back, to the global market. So S&P 500 still doing pretty well. Can't really complain too much about that. I definitely closed out that NASDAQ position a little bit early. I think I might take profit actually on my SPX now. If you just bear with me. Oh no, it's not really worth it. I may as well just leave it. So yeah, NASDAQ's doing alright. The thing is, that is like a nice inverse head and shoulders. It does feel like it's a little bit of a middle finger. One of the chart patterns that I talk about. If this thing was to just sort of stand alone by the end of the day, it's definitely, looks like something like this, doesn't it? Where it just reverses on Monday and comes back. So, yeah, again, a middle finger looking one there. So, I mean, we did get a little bit of that going on up here, but yeah, I know Predator's done pretty well on the bottom of these charts, so it's potentially a good place to... I don't know if people here actually even trade traditional markets, or if it's mainly just like me and a couple of the other guys, but, you know, why would you trade the S&P when you can trade sushi or hot dog, I guess. So, yeah, gold's still doing pretty good work. And I assume the dollar's still dumping off as well. Don't have that on here at the moment. Anyway, quickly back to Link. Did we look at Link? I can't even remember now. We've been going for a little while now. When did we start? Just after 2 hours in. Not bad. Yeah, so obviously I'm long Link. Let's get this thing back on logarithmic. Yeah, so we did go through this before. You know, you can watch the video back for more details, but I didn't realise how big the pump today has actually been. Let's have a quick check. 8%. Oh, it's tempting to take some money off the table on that, to be honest. Yeah, well, it's obviously broken out of the downtrend, doesn't it? Quite clearly. A little bit like that dot one, but way more attractive as far as I'm concerned. It's going to run into resistance again at 1070, but then we've got a nice Adam and Eve double bottom. And as I've been saying with all of these coins that were really strong when Bitcoin was up at 12k, maybe it won't make it all the way back to 20s quite straight away, but it's certainly got some nice key levels to keep an eye on. In particular, you know, towards $13 is a good place to sort of consider taking some profit, because obviously I think what we're going to see here is, you know, some people who bought the 61.8 obviously sold off. This retracement here was 61.8 of that pump as well. So you might see another sell-off, and rather than just getting a clear Adam and Eve like bottom, you might end up with a little bit of a triangle or something like this. So, like if you did sort of get interested in taking profit here, I mean, I'm inclined to hold Link for the long haul. I know that it's Snake's Thailand investment policy project. We'll go to Thailand on his Link profits, I think. Or go and live in Thailand, more like. If this thing does get back up to 12k, you know, 9.3, you know, is the 61.8, the 9.5's the 50% fib. So, I mean, I am actually tempted to take a little bit of profit off at 1080, 1070, 1080 if it can get back up there, because it's had a really good run today. Let's just have a quick look how the Decentrader account's doing. So, yeah, not bad. I really want to see this thing get across all-time highs, because this was all-time high when we were at like 12k or something. So if we can get to an all-time high on this account before we get to 12k, then that's good. Because obviously when we get to 12k we'll have a lot more, so happy days. Anyway, yeah, that's Link in a nutshell. You know, the key level I'm looking at really to try and take profit really is this is the 1240 level. But let's just actually have a quick look at a full retrace. The more bullish people out there might think that 61.8 of the full retracement might be a good place as well. $15. So if I just remove everything, get rid of this, just put the full retrace back on. Sort of it's almost coming towards this, as I said, this resistance level here. The next point's going to be up here, and then yeah, the 61.8's $15. That's really where I think you're going to see if it does break out of this downtrend to the upside, you can see that if this is an Adam and Eve, if it breaks out of this Adam and Eve, the target's going to be sort of close to $15, which is where the 61.8 is. I don't think it would make much sense holding it beyond that unless it's for the long term. It's very tradable, this, as it currently stands. Increasing green candles coming in on the daily. Good to see. When we did sell off the other day, the volume wasn't particularly big, and it just came back to the 61.8. So Link, I don't know, nothing changed with the project, did it? Like, nothing, there was no reason for the sell-off beyond whales taking profit, and you could see the whales were sending their money to the exchanges on the whale calls and stuff like that. So yeah, it hit these fib levels pretty nicely. The fib extension levels, 1.618 was a good place, $8, and then finally at $20. So beyond this level, let's have a quick look. If we do go into a mega bull market, we've now got hopefully another low here to work with. I don't know, $38 would be the next sort of target, or up towards 90. So yeah, I'm not going to be holding it for that long, that's for sure. But yeah, it's another sort of one of these ones where if you believe that we're at the start of a bull cycle, you bought a bag down sort of in these prices down here, like I did at 770. Yeah, you might take some profit on the way and then just think, hey, do you know what I mean? I bought it at 770. I've took a little bit off the table at 12. And then I think my original trading plan was I was just going to let the thing fly. If it goes, it's a bit like if you think like Ethereum was back in the old cycle. If this thing really is going to get motoring, you want to still have your finger in the pie to some extent. So yeah, I think I'll take a little bit of profit at 12.50, look to recycle it, and then just let it go. I think it is tempting though to do something here now, because as I say, we might still come back down towards 9.1 or something. So it depends how much you want to trade it. I don't really care if this thing swings around in the account. Fairly comfortable this will probably be the local low now at 8.30. So I'm just not that bothered about trading it beyond just trying to take some profit at 12.40. I think Ivana was asking, like, why didn't I take profit when it was up here? And it was just because, like, it's just not that big of a position for me. So I'd rather try and get the ROI. Obviously, I did take some risk mitigation here in case things did go wrong. But yeah, it's pumping back pretty damn hard. It's good to see Link starting to outperform again. And that is a good sign. Have a quick check on Ethereum today. It's not done too much. It's pretty strong. Everything's looking pretty strong, which is good. Good to see. Let's have a quick look at the alts. So obviously, this is just the alt, so the market cap excluding Bitcoin. And you might be forgiven for thinking that this is a some form of like, ascending triangle. Pennant, which would see the alts take another leg on higher, close to probably 250 bill, which would probably be a good place to come out actually. Generally of alts, there's two things that you can use to get out of alts. If you're heavy in alts as a portfolio, I'd say is the total market cap of the alts, and then the Bitcoin dominance. So if this gets back up to 250 bill from 137, that would be one hell of a run. So it makes sense to probably start thinking about coming out at those sorts of prices. Right, let's have a quick look. IOTA. Sorry if I'm just blabbering on a bit, because we have been going for 2.5 hours now. actually?
I am actually going to have to check out, Phil. So
right,
I will see you guys soon. Have a good weekend. It's been a good week this week, so let's try and make next week a great week too. All right, guys, enjoy your weekend. I'm going to sign out now.
yeah, thanks, mate.
See ya.
See you in a bit.
Cheers, mate. See you, bye.
Is Philby high as fuck today? I have been to the gym today, so I'm gonna pass it off as endorphins. I'm not high, no, not yet. So you think? Have you been disconnecting? Have you, Ivana? I don't think anybody else has mentioned that. If people do prefer us to do them on YouTube, I have considered doing this on YouTube on a Friday anyway, just to see how it works live. I think this Theta token was the one that we were looking at the other day, saying that it just looked like really nice from a TA point of view. And it does still continue to look pretty good. Clear uptrend, yeah. It's a bit of a diamond top sort of thing going on here. Probably want to try and buy a breakout in it. Buying the breakout on this thing's been pretty, well, certainly from the consolidation that it's in, it's been a pretty good strategy recent times. So I don't know, it doesn't look quite ready to break out yet. I mean, this looks a lot better, I think, than the OBV. You can see it's more of an ascending triangle than it is here. It's a bit more of a diamond shaped top, which can be a little bit misleading, and that can go either way. I think we said that coming down to this level would be an ideal place to buy it, but clearly it's shown real strength through all of this sell-off stuff. So it's like like with all of the coins that we've looked at, where those that have shown the most strength are probably the ones to be in. So I can't see any reason why you might sell this thing at the minute. You might get something like this where it comes back to support. I might put a little reminder on here actually. So I'll keep a little reminder on if it does sell off. But this is the sort of thing where I'd possibly, if I was really interested in buying it, I'd have a breakout alert as well. And then I don't like to have stop buy orders on breakout buys, because they can just be really trappy and reverse pretty fast. So I try to avoid that, but I do use alerts for that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, if we do go to YouTube, we'll just use the chat like we do here, and then shift across and just do it in YouTube side of things. So I might try that out next week. Oh man, I'm getting pretty tired now. Shall we call it a day at this point? I mean, we'll upload the video. It's going to be pretty long. It's 2 hours 20 minutes now, so it'll take a little bit of time to get it up. I am not high, I promise, but yeah, we'll get it up on the site. If someone's watching it back, actually they're not going to hear this, are they? But maybe we'll ask if someone watches it back to try and take a note of what it is that we've actually talked about at what times, because it might be a little bit frustrating going through it. But yeah, otherwise I'll just be hanging around online here, and I'll catch up with anything that you might want to say or any questions you might have. But otherwise, yeah, I'll just echo what Phil said and just enjoy the weekend. Don't get too suckered in if there's a big move to the upside, because it's probably a move to sell or potentially to buy the retrace. So that's my sort of view of the world, is try not to trade too much over the weekend, because more often than not it can lead to poor decision making. But yeah, other than that, have a good one, have a beer, spend some time with the fam, and I shall speak to you on Monday. Bye for now.